I'd been Alfred's girlfriend for 6 years, but when his first love started spreading rumors and bullying me, he, the only one who knew the truth, refused to stand up for me. All because his first love said, when the whole world abandons her, you'll be her only support, and then she'll be at your mercy. As a result, I was publicly criticized and attacked online, tortured by her fervent fans. The day I got out of the police station, Alfred came to pick me up. He opened his arms and said in a patronizing tone, "You only have me now." I just laughed. "But I don't want you anymore." Coming out of the police station, I was still a bit dazed. Looking up, I saw Alfred. Dressed sharply in a suit, he shone in the golden sunlight like a deity. "This is my boyfriend. His first love, Jennifer, is a popular star. All it took was a few tears on camera to pin the bullying label on me." Alfred knew everything, yet he wouldn't say a word to help me. Even the alumni who spoke up for me online were silenced at his request. All because of Jennifer's words, "When the whole world abandons Lynn, you'll be her only support, and then she'll be at your mercy." My personal information was maliciously exposed, and I was attacked online. My parents faced harassment from Jennifer's fans too. My dad fought to clear my name, but while seeking out alumni for testimony, he was in a car accident and couldn't be saved. My mom aged 10 years in an instant and fell seriously ill. I was kidnapped by Jennifer's fans. When the police found me, I was battered, a mere skeleton of myself. All this just because I fell in love with Alfred. A female officer, feeling sorry for me, helped me out and gently said, "Take care of yourself." Once she left, my legs trembled, and I almost couldn't stand. Alfred smirked, seemingly satisfied. After all, I should have learned my lesson. "Lynn, I'm here to take you home." His tone was casual. "Since you've suffered, I have good news for you." He stepped closer, looking down at me, his tone patronizing. "I've decided to marry you. Happy? You can think about what kind of wedding you want." I stared at him calmly. Alfred reached up to stroke my cheek, not caring about my scars and dirt. "Lynn, you only have me now." All my emotions burst into a soft laugh as I replied, "Go to hell, scum." Alfred's hand froze on my face. I didn't want Alfred anymore. If I could, I'd wish him dead right now. I hoped he wouldn't die well. I took a step back, distancing myself from him. His expression darkened as he slowly withdrew his hand, looking down at me. "Lynn, I'll give you one more chance to take back what you just said. If there's a next time, I really won't want you anymore." His commanding tone was laughable, yet I couldn't muster a laugh. I just couldn't understand why he still thought I needed him. I looked away, ready to leave. "Alfred." Jennifer's soft voice called from a distance. She approached, wearing sunglasses, her thin frame resembling a skeleton. I remembered how her fans whipped me and said, "Do you know how hard Jennifer works? To look good on camera, she diets to maintain her figure, even being criticized for looking like a skeleton. But what's wrong with presenting the best image on screen? She must be a hardworking girl at school, and you bullied her. I'll make you feel what it's like to be judged and bullied." And so she tortured me, causing me to develop anorexia. Now I was thinner than Jennifer, looking even more skeletal. She stopped beside Alfred, scanning me with pity in her eyes. Her fans said her gaze had a divine quality. "Oh my God, Lynn. How did you end up like this?" I glanced at her and looked away. Before I could take a step, Jennifer's voice rang out again. "Given how much you've suffered, Lynn, I forgive you. Let's forget the past." I suddenly felt that Alfred and Jennifer were a perfect match. They were both ridiculous. If I had any strength left, I might applaud them, or give them each a slap as a blessing. But I was utterly drained. "Lynn." Seeing my mom rush towards me made my tears spill over. She held me tightly. Although she had lost so much weight, her embrace was still full of warmth. In that moment, I could finally let go and faint peacefully. When I opened my eyes again, the first sense to return was my sense of smell. The scent of antiseptic reminded me I was in a hospital. "Lynn, you're finally awake." My mom wiped her tears and called for the doctor. After checking on me, the doctor insisted I stay for proper care and shouldn't rush to leave. My mom nodded tearfully, and after seeing the doctor off, she poured me a glass of water and helped me sit up. I fought back the tears, but the pain in my heart kept bubbling to the surface. It was all my fault. I attracted Alfred, which led to my dad's death and my mom's suffering. She wasn't in much better shape than me, but still took care of me. I gripped the glass tightly, a burning pain in my throat as if I had swallowed a hot iron. Mom, I'm sorry. She looked down, wiping away her tears, her voice trembling. You did nothing wrong. What are you apologizing for? The wrongdoers are the ones who framed and harmed you. She gently supported the bottom of the cup. Drink some water first. Just as I swallowed a sip, my stomach churned violently. I yanked out the 4 and stumbled barefoot into the bathroom, retching into the toilet with nothing to expel. I trembled, trying to rise, but my mom came to support me, and I heard her soft weeping. I didn't want her to cry or worry, but I couldn't even keep water down. This was the most helpless feeling. Let me help. A deep voice came, and the next moment, the hand supporting me became firm yet gentle, as if I were a fragile soap bubble. Turning, I saw a tall figure in a white coat. It was Edward. He was back. Edward and I were classmates from elementary to middle school, practically childhood sweethearts. But after middle school, he went abroad and hadn't returned even once. I never expected our roles to switch to doctor and patient when we met again. Edward helped me back to bed and reconnected my 4. Then he turned to my mom and said, I'm the doctor here now, leave this to me. You should go home and rest. My mom looked at me, clearly still worried. I glanced at Edward and softly said, Mom, you should go home. I'll worry about you here, and you won't be able to rest. Finally, she nodded, giving me a few parting words, before Edward escorted her out. They chatted on their way, and about 10 minutes later, Edward returned. Though we had been close as kids, it had been years since we last saw each other, and he returned just as I was at my lowest. I didn't know what to say, and even greeting him felt awkward. It was Edward who broke the awkward silence. Don't worry about your mom's health, as long as she takes good care of herself, she'll be fine in no time. I looked at him in surprise. After all these years, he still understood me well, knowing that my biggest worry right now was my mom, not myself. I nodded and silently watched him for a moment, trying to muster a smile, but it just wouldn't come. I simply asked, when did you come back? Edward stood by the bed, looking down at me, his handsome face revealing no emotion, though his features seemed a bit tense. Whenever Alfred looked at me like that, he always carried an air of authority. Edward replied quietly, last week. I didn't know what else to say. He glanced at the 4 drip, then turned to leave. I have to get back to work. Ring if you need anything. Okay. I thought our childhood bond had faded away during these years apart. It was a bit of a pity. A nurse walked in, smiling slightly. You should eat something, your stomach is in pretty bad shape. I sighed silently. I can't eat. If I could, I wouldn't have to worry my mom. The nurse frowned. Then we can only give you nutrition through the 4. She urged me to stay positive and eat something, and I nodded in agreement. For my mom's sake, I couldn't give up. After saying this, the nurse glanced at the door and cleared her throat, asking quietly, did you just argue with Dr. Edward? You shouldn't get too worked up, the stomach is affected by emotions. I didn't quite understand. Edward? We didn't argue. The nurse looked puzzled. Really? I just saw Dr. Edward's eyes were red and a bit wet, like he had been crying. I didn't see Edward again until it was dark. He came over to help me remove the 4. Is your stomach feeling any better? I nodded, remembering the nurse's words from earlier. But I didn't ask, even if Edward felt sad seeing me like this, it didn't matter. I just wanted to forget that hellish period of my life as quickly as possible. Edward seemed to have composed himself, watching me until I fell asleep. I didn't even notice when he left. In the following days, under Edward's attentive care, I gradually felt better. I sincerely thanked him. A few days ago, he encouraged me to try eating, but every time I managed to swallow something, I would throw it back up, sometimes too late to reach the bathroom or grab a trash can, and Edward would just catch my vomit with his hands. Even I found it disgusting, yet he handled it so naturally. He would say lightly, I'm a doctor, it's my job. He washed his hands and brought me a glass of water to rinse my mouth. Now, I was finally able to eat a bit of porridge. Edward's face had also started to show some smiles. In school, he was always aloof, surrounded by boys. It sounds like a youth novel, but I was truly the only girl around him. Back then, we were very close, sharing everything. In the first 2 years after he went abroad, we still contacted each other daily. Then it changed to once a week, then once a month. The pressure and busyness of senior year gradually made us communicate less and less. Even in college, we weren't free, so our contact turned into greetings during holidays and each other's birthdays. These past few days together made me feel that our bond with Edward seemed to return to its roots. Although we still had some distance to cover to be as close as before. I smiled and said, "I never expected you to become a doctor." Edward glanced at me, his eyes seeming to carry a deeper meaning, but he quickly lowered his gaze to hide all his emotions, the corners of his lips curling slightly. "Because I like it." On the day of my discharge, my mom was supposed to pick me up, but Edward said he was off that day and would take me home. As soon as I stepped inside, I caught the familiar aroma of my mom's cooking. It felt like ages since I had eaten a meal prepared by her. "Edward, you should join us." Edward smiled warmly. "Honestly, I've really missed your cooking." Edward's parents were often busy, flying around the world. When my mom learned of this, she would pack him lunch whenever she brought me food. We would sit under the big willow tree eating, and he'd say, "Lynn, I envy you. I've never had a meal cooked by my parents." Later, when his parents found out he had eaten so many lunches at our house, they personally came to thank my mom. They offered $500,000 as a token of gratitude. Of course, my parents refused. At that time, Edward's father, with an imposing but warm demeanor, laughed heartily, "I'll save this money for Lynn as startup capital for her new family in the future." He even glanced at Edward. Edward's ears turned red. "Dad, you're quite humorous." Actually, I hadn't met Edward's parents much, they were too busy, but they were really nice people. That's why they raised Edward so well. After we finished eating, Edward went to wash the dishes, and I felt bad, so I followed him into the kitchen. "How can you have a guest wash the dishes?" Edward didn't respond, continuing with his task. Suddenly he said, "Lynn, I've noticed that you've become quite distant since I returned." I opened my mouth to respond, "No, I haven't." It was just surprising to see him at the hospital that day. But I still considered him a good friend in my heart. I was really happy to reunite with him. Warmth surged in my heart, and I smiled, jokingly saying, "Go ahead and wash, Edward has washed our dishes before, so he should be used to it." Edward turned to glance at me, and when he looked back, I saw a deep smile shining in his eyes. After Edward left, my mom and I started talking about my dad again. My mom's glow, which had brightened over the past few days, began to fade little by little, her eyes getting moist. "You and Alfred used to be so close, how did it end up like this?" If it weren't for Alfred using his influence to stop classmates from speaking up for me, I wouldn't have lost my dad. My mom knew that Alfred had always treated me well, but she didn't know that in Alfred's heart, Jennifer was always the most important. At that time, I had just transferred schools, and the new environment was a bit overwhelming for me. Although my family had some money, it couldn't compare to the rich kids at this elite school. In the new school, I experienced isolation and bullying. But I didn't dare tell my parents. They hoped I would get into a good university. During my toughest moments, it was Alfred who stood in front of me to protect me. He stood there with his hands in his pockets, carefree. "Lynn is mine, you all have to greet her when you see her. We're all grown up, you need to be polite." Naturally, no one dared to act up in front of Alfred. Except for Jennifer. She glanced at me behind Alfred and sneered, "Alfred, do you know what you're saying?" Alfred replied with a sharp tone, "Of course." Jennifer nodded. "Fine, Alfred, don't regret it." After that, I was no longer bullied, and thanks to Alfred, the wealthy kids treated me with great respect. I considered Alfred my salvation, fell for him, and agreed to be his girlfriend. I also worked harder in my studies. During that time, I was truly happy, not even caring about the hateful looks from Jennifer. Until the day of our college graduation, during the last gathering with classmates at night. I approached the door to our private room, just about to open it when I heard. Alfred, did you really break up with Jennifer? My hand froze mid-motion. Alfred had dated Jennifer? If that was true, how did I not know? I didn't know. Alfred's displeased voice rang out. How many times do I have to say it? Don't bring this up again. The other person replied, I won't bring it up again, I just thought you two were just having some playful spats like before. I didn't expect you to actually be with Lynn for all these years. Honestly, you know Jennifer still has feelings for you. Shut up. Alfred's deep voice interrupted him. I took a deep breath, ready to go inside, but then I heard. When I first got together with Lynn, it was indeed to get back at Jennifer, but after dating for a while, I found Lynn to be quite interesting. Alfred chuckled lightly at this, his tone laced with an innate disdain. She's quite the challenge. She always says she doesn't want my money, but I offer it and she refuses. She's not like other women, she truly loves me. It's just that her temper is a bit stubborn. I don't like overly assertive women. But I really enjoy the process of taming her. As for Jennifer, I'm not going to stand around foolishly waiting for her. She was the one who suggested the breakup, I let her go. Honestly, it was quite amusing when she begged me not to leave. I released the doorknob, took a step back, and turned to leave. The summer night was stifling and hot, with no breeze, and I found it hard to catch my breath, my heart heavy. Alfred. How could he have become so unfamiliar? Suddenly, I didn't recognize him at all. Or perhaps he had always been this way, and I had never truly understood him. Though I was feeling a bit better, I still had to go to the hospital for regular checkups. I didn't expect to run into Alfred at the hospital. Of course, we were bound to meet. After all, there were still unresolved issues between him and me, and between him and Jennifer. Alfred wasn't here to see me, he had Jennifer by his side. Upon seeing me, Jennifer smiled gently. Lynn, it's been a few days since we last met, and you seem better, maybe a bit heavier than the last time I saw you. I didn't want to waste time talking to her and was ready to walk past them. But Alfred called out to me. Lynn, Jennifer is talking to you, didn't you hear? When did you become so rude? A wave of resentment surged within me again. They really didn't see me as a person, even now, they expected me to be polite to them. It seemed I had been too polite to them in the past. I silently took a deep breath and stepped back to face them. There was something flickering in Alfred's gaze that I couldn't decipher. He stared at me intently, took a step forward, and with a satisfied expression, reached out to touch my face. You've really taken care of yourself. Now that you're better, what about our wedding? Smack. The sharp, crisp sound abruptly cut off Alfred's words. My palm tingled and hurt, I really put some strength into that slap. Alfred's face darkened, and anger flared in his eyes. Lynn, how dare you hit me? Jennifer was momentarily stunned, but quickly reacted and stepped forward. Lynn, how could you hit someone? Before Jennifer could finish, I raised my hand again and slapped her across the face. Jennifer's eyes flashed with fury for a moment, but then she lowered her head, her voice softening. Lynn, how can you just hit someone like that? Suddenly, Alfred grabbed my wrist with such force it felt like he might crush my bones. Lynn, are you out of your mind? He glared at me with wild eyes. Apologize to Jennifer. As long as you say you're sorry, I might still give you a wedding. Otherwise. I pulled my hand from his grip and looked at him coldly. Alfred, Jennifer, the matter of you two being indirectly responsible for my dad's death isn't over yet. I stepped closer to Alfred, reducing the distance between us. I may not be as wealthy or powerful as your families, but I have nothing left to lose, and I'm not afraid anymore. Just wait for me. With that, I walked past them and left. Tears streamed down my face. My dad was indirectly killed by them, and I wouldn't let them off the hook, absolutely not. Alfred stood there, frozen. Jennifer continued to weep in his ear. How could Lynn have changed like this? She never dared to speak to you like that before, let alone hit you. Alfred, are you really sure you still want her? A sense of panic surged within Alfred, an unfamiliar emotion for him. For a brief moment, he realized that this time, he might really lose Lynn. He felt scared. But this was Lynn. The Lynn who loved him so much, how could she really not want him anymore? She was just heartbroken after losing her father. With this thought, Alfred's panic slowly subsided. He was confident that it wouldn't be long before Lynn would come back to him. Alfred smiled and met Jennifer's tear-filled gaze. "All right, stop pretending. You weren't like this when you bullied Lynn back then." Jennifer wiped her tears and reverted to her spoiled nature. "This is just part of an actor's training. I'm simply using every opportunity to improve my skills." Alfred grew impatient. "Hurry up, aren't you feeling unwell? Let's get checked." Jennifer sighed softly, "I'm not unwell, I just want you to keep me company." Her frail hand climbed onto Alfred's shoulder. "Alfred, you know I love you. I've always loved you for so many years." Alfred seized Jennifer's wrist, looking down at her, and lightly shook her hand off. "You know I've long since stopped liking you." Jennifer's expression turned sullen, and she narrowed her eyes slightly. "Don't tell me you really like Lynn now." "Enough, Alfred. After all these years, haven't you had enough? Let's just be together, and I promise I won't throw any more tantrums." Alfred smiled casually. "Jennifer, I'm already planning my wedding with Lynn." The color drained from Jennifer's face bit by bit. No matter how unwilling she was to admit it, she had lost to Lynn, lost to that woman who didn't measure up to her in any way. She was truly unwilling to accept this. Alfred could see Jennifer's reluctance and sadness, but he didn't care. His gaze shifted past Jennifer, to the four tall men approaching. The four men stopped beside Alfred and Jennifer, directly grabbing them and dragging them into the elevator. Alfred struggled. "What are you doing? Do you know who I am?" Jennifer screamed, "Let me go, Alfred." But the two of them were restrained tightly in the elevator, unable to resist at all. In the end, they were thrown out of the hospital. I was completely unaware of all this. After my checkup, Edward drove me home. On the way, Edward suddenly asked, "Did you see your ex-boyfriend?" I wasn't surprised. This hospital was actually a private facility owned by Edward's family, featuring the world's top medical team. While it was open to the public, it primarily served the Edward family. I nodded. Edward's hands controlled the steering wheel, his long, fair fingers smooth like jade. Honestly, those hands would be better suited for modeling. But I preferred them holding a scalpel. Though I'd never seen it. I had always liked doctors since I was a child. In my first crush, I even said I wanted to marry a doctor when I grew up. I thought men looked best in white coats. I pulled my gaze from Edward's hands and said lightly, "He was probably here to accompany Jennifer for her appointment." Edward merely responded with a and changed the subject. The car stopped again in front of a psychological counseling clinic. After being discharged from the hospital, I began receiving psychological therapy. But I just couldn't forget the days of being kidnapped. I had nightmares every night. I would dream of my father, always in a car accident. I cooperated with the doctor's treatment because I had to get better. I still needed to take care of my mom and make sure that those indirectly responsible for my father's death got what they deserved. An hour later, Edward and I exited the clinic. As we got into the car, Edward suddenly said, "Lynn, you're not as alone as you think." I paused, looking at him in surprise. Did he hear my conversation with Alfred and Jennifer? Edward didn't look at me, he kept his gaze straight ahead. "You have me." His voice was low and soft, but there was a firmness to it, as if it carried an indescribable strength. My eyes stung. "Edward, thank you." He really hadn't changed at all, he was still the same Edward. "But this is my own business." "I know." Edward fell silent again. The car continued onward, entering the industrial park. Our small family company was located here, next to a small square. Edward parked the car there. He sat quietly, still looking ahead, but suddenly lowered his head, his large hand covering his eyes. Tears began to slide down his cheeks. "Edward?" My heart raced, I leaned closer. "What's wrong?" Edward's lips trembled as he lowered his hand. When he turned to look at me, his eyes were bloodshot. A chilling hostility seeped from that shade of red, like a blood-stained blade, sending a shiver down my spine. "Edward?" Edward locked eyes with me, his thin lips parted slightly, his voice hoarse. Lynn, I regret it. I regret going abroad, I regret only sneaking back to see you, I regret not arranging someone to protect you. And I regret giving you the chance to fall for Alfred. Lynn, if I tied you to my side and didn't let you go anywhere, would you hate me? I looked at him in confusion, completely bewildered. What was he talking about? Edward, you. Edward suddenly let out a low laugh, wiping away his tears. Don't worry, I won't really do that. I remembered what the nurse had said that day. So, he really was crying for me. Edward, you like me, right? Edward smiled again. Yeah, I like you. I've liked you for a long time. My heart raced, and I held my breath. Edward liked me. So, he studied medicine and became a doctor because of me, right? Just because I mentioned that I liked men in white coats. It felt like a hurricane was sweeping into my chest, making it harder to breathe. He hadn't come back for so many years. It turned out he had secretly come back to see me. Struggling to suppress my tumultuous emotions, I softly asked him, "Why did you secretly come to see me?" Edward continued looking into my eyes, his crimson lips parting slightly to reveal a hint of white teeth. Because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to control myself. I was taken aback. Then I heard him say, "You know? Lynn, every time I sneaked to see you, I wanted to stuff you into a suitcase and take you away. I even prepared a suitcase. But I couldn't do that. So I could only watch you from a distance. I was afraid that if I looked into your eyes, everything would spiral out of control." After all these years, I finally learned that Edward had these feelings for me. Edward's voice became deeper. I really regret it now. I should have taken you away and not given you the chance to fall for someone else. Such possessive words, but I wasn't afraid. That was Edward. The Edward who had always treated me so well, he wouldn't hurt me. Edward, you're back now. We're together again. Yeah, we're together again. Edward lowered his head, then turned to look at me and suddenly asked, "Lynn, let's be together. Be my girlfriend, okay?" The sudden confession left me speechless. After a long moment, I finally found my voice. I don't want to date right now. Edward sighed. Is he hurt? Just as I was about to comfort him, he gave me a somewhat possessive smile. Then I'll just tie you up. Seeing me silent, Edward burst into laughter. I'm just kidding, silly. Did you really believe that? I gently tapped him. Be serious. Edward nodded. Okay, I'll be serious. He really became serious, looking at me earnestly. I'm waiting for you to completely let go of that garbage ex, so you can accept me sooner. I pouted. I've already let go. If I hadn't let go of Alfred by now, I wouldn't deserve to be my dad's daughter. Edward dropped me off at the company and then left. My mom is currently managing the company alone, so I need to step up and help her. But my mom said, "Go home and rest well, you don't need to worry about the company right now." I insisted, "Mom, I can handle the company stuff. Besides, I can't just sit around doing nothing." My mom looked at me silently for a moment, her eyes glistening with tears, before pulling me into her arms. Lynn, you're all I have now. I just want you to be healthy and safe. My mom knew. She saw through it. A mother knows her child best. I cried loudly in her embrace. Mom, I hate them so much. I want to take revenge for Dad. Mom, I miss Dad so much. My mom gently patted my back, her voice trembling. Lynn, neither Edward nor Jennifer is someone we can provoke. Please don't act impulsively, okay? If your dad sees you doing foolish things for him from above, he won't feel at peace. Your parents' biggest wish is for you to live a healthy, carefree life. But I couldn't be carefree anymore. Am I really unable to take revenge for Dad? If it were just me, I could take a knife right now and kill Alfred and Jennifer. But I still have Mom, I can't leave her behind. Dad, tell me what I should do. Alfred was preparing a grand wedding. Every woman dreams of having a magnificent and romantic wedding with the person she loves most, right? Looking around at the venue with satisfaction, Alfred nodded. Beside him, his good friend Jason cleared his throat and tentatively asked, Are you really sure Lynn still wants to marry you? Alfred frowned in displeasure. Of course. If she didn't want to marry me, would she want to marry you? Jason swallowed hard. But Lynn's dad died because of you and Jennifer. Even if you didn't kill him with your own hands, you indirectly caused his death. Do you think Lynn can really let that go? Alfred's underlying panic surged uncontrollably again. This feeling was so damn annoying. He muttered a curse under his breath, glaring at Jason fiercely. Shut up. How could Lynn not want to marry me? She loves me so much, you all know that. I'm going to find Lynn right now. Do you believe that if I propose to her, she'll say yes immediately? Alfred's mind was still in turmoil, but he forced himself to regain his usual confidence. He was Alfred, and Lynn loved him. Besides, she only had him now, she would definitely marry him. As he stepped into the elevator, he took out his phone to call Lynn and ask where she was, but his phone rang first. On the other end, his assistant's anxious voice came through. President, something's wrong. The project number 14 has been taken over by Edward's family. Why would Edward's family be interested in our project? What's going on? Alfred felt even more irritable. Edward's family? What does that matter? It's just a project. If we lose it, we can find another one. After hanging up, Alfred pushed the company matters to the back of his mind and asked someone to find out where Lynn was. Just as I walked out of the clinic, I saw Alfred. He held a bouquet of my favorite peonies, smiling as he approached. Lynn, I've arranged the wedding venue. Let me take you to see it. I looked at Alfred in disbelief. He was actually still planning the wedding? What gave him the right to think that after everything that happened, I would still marry him? I couldn't even be bothered to tell him that I would never marry him. Speaking to this idiot felt like a stain on my dignity. Alfred frowned slightly. Lynn, I'm talking to you. Didn't you hear me? I'll just pretend that slap was because you were in a bad mood. You hit me, so what? After all, you're my wife, and wives are meant to be pampered and cared for. He stuffed a bouquet into my arms and grabbed my wrist. Come on, let's go check out the wedding venue. I slowly pulled my hand away. Get lost. Alfred's breath grew heavier. Lynn, you think you can push me around, huh? I'll give you one more chance. Only then did I look at him, letting go of the bouquet, which fell to the ground. I said, word by word, Alfred, fuck you. A fleeting look of panic crossed Alfred's handsome face, then he narrowed his eyes and asked angrily, Lynn, have you lost your mind? I laughed coldly. If I were crazy, I would have killed you already. Alfred, my father died because of you and Jennifer. You must be out of your mind to think I like you and would marry you, right? I stepped forward and spoke in the most vicious tone, I wish I could kill you. But I also think it's not worth it to take a life for someone like you. Alfred, you're trash. Just looking at you makes me sick. Do you understand now? Alfred swayed slightly, taking a step back as the color drained from his face. Lynn. Edward stepped out. I let out a long breath and turned to take the report from Edward. Alfred seemed to notice where I had come from and snatched the report from my hands. He flipped through it quickly and then abruptly looked up at me, his dark pupils flickering, his gaze shattered. Lynn, how could it be this serious? What happened to you? Edward stepped in front of me. Then he turned and patted my shoulder. Be good, wait for me in the car. I didn't think much, I just knew I didn't want to look at Alfred again, so I headed to the parking lot, completely unaware of what happened after I left. Edward took the report and, the next moment, landed a punch on Alfred's cheekbone. Alfred's eyes turned bloodshot, and he raised his hand to retaliate. Edward kicked him hard in the stomach. Alfred spat out blood and fell to the ground. Edward stepped over him, looking down coldly, his eyes filled with a murderous intent. Alfred, what made you think Lynn is someone you can mess with? He smiled coldly, but his eyes sparkled with excitement, like a vampire seeing his prey. Do you know? When I got the news that Lynn was dating you, I flew back immediately. He withdrew his foot and squatted beside Alfred. The scalpel in my hand could easily end your life. You should thank Lynn, she saved your life. But now that you've hurt Lynn, your protection is gone. At this point, Alfred's face twisted even more with excitement. But I won't kill you right away, I'll make you suffer. Alfred frowned deeply, trying to get up. Edward stood up abruptly and kicked him again in the chest. Not just you, your entire Edward family will pay for hurting Lynn. Only then did Alfred realize. You're Edward? Edward didn't answer Alfred's question and walked towards the parking lot. I took the report from Edward. I'm really feeling much better. Not enough, Edward said, fastening his seatbelt and starting the engine. I still prefer the cheerful, lively you from before. I knew he meant to encourage me, but my cheeks flushed uncontrollably. After dropping me off at the company, Edward left. I immediately dove into work. I still didn't have the capital to fight Alfred, but I could wait. Revenge is a dish best served cold. And Jennifer. I naturally hadn't forgotten her. But I didn't expect Jennifer to come looking for me. I let her in. The moment Jennifer stepped through the door, I put my phone down. Jennifer closed the door and slowly approached, surveying my office with a disdainful smile. I'll be direct, Lynn. I won't allow you to marry Alfred. Her words made me laugh. You won't allow? Who do you think you are? Jennifer raised an eyebrow. Do you not know my standing? She gestured around my office. Do you know how many small companies like yours go bankrupt each year nationwide? Lynn, don't overestimate yourself. You're no match for me. Alfred and I are meant to be together. When I bullied you back then, he stepped in to help you, just to annoy me. You can't really think he likes you, can you? If he liked you, why didn't he say a word when I was bullying you? He even stopped classmates from testifying for you. He always knew how badly I bullied you, didn't he? I looked at Jennifer's arrogant face with a smile, just as her phone rang. She impatiently answered the call. Whatever was said on the other end made her expression change from arrogance to panic. How could this happen? Jennifer hung up, staring at me in disbelief. What's your relationship with Edward? Why would they stand up for you? I paused for a moment, realizing it must have been Edward's doing. He had been quietly gathering evidence of Jennifer's bullying me all this time. I smiled slightly, slowly standing up and picking up my phone. Actually, he didn't need to take action. I live-streamed it, showing your true colors to your fans. Do you think they'll thank me? Jennifer gasped and lunged at me. I smashed my phone into her face and dragged her by the hair, slamming her down onto my desk. Do you still think I'm the same Lynn you bullied back then? In truth, I hadn't let her bully me. I fought back. But I was outnumbered and didn't want to drag my parents into it. Moreover, once Alfred stepped in, they didn't dare touch me anymore. But I wouldn't be grateful to Alfred anymore. Jennifer, you and Alfred are responsible for my father's death. Even without the Edward family, I won't let you go. Jennifer screamed and struggled fiercely. I shoved her away, looking down at her from above. Our matters are far from over. Jennifer panicked and ran away. But it was too late. There was evidence of her bullying me all over the internet. And my livestream delivered a fatal blow to her already shaky reputation, with her fans unfollowing her and exposing her disgusting deeds in the entertainment industry. In an instant, Jennifer became the target of public outrage online. Her family, who valued boys over girls, had intended to arrange a marriage for her, but now her reputation was tarnished, and no one wanted her. She was cast aside. Yet Edward didn't give up on attacking the Jennifer group. In fact, even without his intervention, their company's stock price had plummeted recently. Alfred came looking for me again. As I left work, I saw him standing by his car, smoking. When he saw me, Alfred extinguished his cigarette and silently watched as I walked past. Right there at the bustling company entrance, he knelt down. I coldly looked away, got into my car, and drove off. The weather was gloomy, and heavy rain poured down. Alfred didn't stand up, remaining on his knees. When I got home, I received several videos. All of them showed Alfred kneeling at the company entrance. I just glanced at it, put my phone down, and focused on my work again. Near midnight, my phone rang. Still working on my project proposal, I picked up the call. On the other end, I heard the sound of rain, followed by Alfred's hoarse voice. Lynn, can you forgive me? Alfred, I would never forgive you, even if you died. After hanging up, I blocked all of Alfred's contact information. But he wouldn't give up easily. The next day, he came to the company to find me. He looked sick, his face pale and his spirit low. Seeing me, a glimmer of light returned to his eyes. Lynn, I'm sorry. I really am. The past is in the past, let's just focus on the future, okay? Please. Lynn, I love you. I truly love you. I didn't mean to cause your father's death, I just wanted you to rely on me more. Lynn, I've never liked anyone as much as I like you, but I feel so insecure. You're like a kite, and I'm always afraid that if you break free, you'll fly away and never come back. I impatiently closed my eyes. Shut up, Alfred. It's not just that I can't stand looking at you, even hearing your voice makes me sick. Alfred's gaze shattered. Do you really not love me at all anymore? If I killed your dad, would you still love me? I asked, a bit agitated. Mentioning my father made it hard for me to stay calm. Alfred's eyes completely dulled. Suddenly, a sharp, piercing voice rang out from nearby. Lynn, go die. When Jennifer lunged at me with a knife, Alfred was the first to react. He threw himself at me, using his back to shield me from the blow. In the hospital. Edward told me, he's not in any life-threatening danger. I nodded. Edward fell silent for a few seconds before suddenly saying, but I want to tie you up again. Even though he took a knife from me, I won't love him anymore, I replied calmly. He owes me that much. Edward held me tightly. Lynn, you still have Aunt Lon and me. Let me take care of you and Aunt Lon from now on, okay? I nestled in Edward's embrace and nodded after a moment. His arms really made me feel safe. A week later, Alfred was discharged. I didn't go to see him. Jason came to find me and urged me to meet Alfred, but I refused. Jennifer was detained for attempted murder. What awaits her will be the law's punishment. With the Edward family's influence, the Gu and Shin families are struggling right now, and their reputation has taken a hit, making their decline swift. My small company, on the other hand, has taken on quite a few projects and even hired a batch of new people. My mom and I visited my dad again. This time, Edward was with us. I will make the company thrive and take good care of my mom. My dad should be at ease now. On the way back, Edward walked on either side of my mom and me. Before, I used to be between my parents. We can never go back. But I know Dad is watching over us from above. I looked up at the bright blue sky. Dad, I miss you so much. Dad, don't worry, I will live my life to the fullest, together with Mom and Edward. Rest assured. End.